What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the channel. And folks, you hear that? Yeah, it's time for the latest Mets trade rumors here on the channel, as it's been broken over the past 24 hours here from John Heyman of the New York Post with the news regarding one of the more controversial players as of late. Whether you like it or not, that has been the case with Andrew Benintendi, the left-handed hitting corner outfielder for the Kansas City Royals. As you see here, based on his vaccination status, a team like the Yankees, who had previous interest, no longer has to this juncture, but the Mets across town do in fact have interest in Andrew Benintendi. So that's what I'll be breaking down in today's video. Everything that you guys need to know about Andrew Benintendi and his game, everything that's currently going on with him in the latest news, and what is the likelihood, unlikelihood of the Mets potentially landing someone like him to add a bat by this year's trade deadline, and how would he potentially fit in this Mets lab should he in fact be acquired by the Mets. That is of course what I'll be breaking down in today's discussion. So as always, folks, make sure you stay all the way till the end of the video for all the details on my thoughts on Benintendi and his potential or lack thereof of landing in Queens. And again, folks, if you find yourself enjoying this kind of Mets content and you want to see more great Mets content like this, make sure to smash that like and subscribe button, sharing this video with your friends, put on the notification bell, all those great things. Thank you guys all so much for the continued support. Now let's hop right into today's video. Alright folks, let's start off today's discussion by explaining that Andrew Benintendi is going to be a very interesting discussion here. I have a lot to say about him, a lot of positive, some negative as well, but I would just like to emphasize that of course you have seen in recent reports that Andrew Benintendi's name has been in recent news, not necessarily because of the rumor aspect, but because of the vaccination aspect. As most of you know by now, the Kansas City Royals were just in Toronto for a series, and 40% of their roster is unvaccinated, so they were not able to travel or play with the team. And that included Andrew Benintendi, who's going to be a hot bat available by this year's trade deadline. So naturally, we've seen reports of the New York Yankees, who have shown recent interest in him, now backtracking, not showing that same interest anymore, and finding out this news on his vaccination status. The Toronto Blue Jays, who of all teams probably need to know the vax status the most, right? Because if you're not vaxxed, you can't even play for them. They have made it abundantly clear, at least from recent reports, that they still have interest in going after Benintendi, in hopes that if they trade for him, that he will be swayed and can take the shot. So I don't know what everyone's opinions are on this, and please, I just do not want to go on a tangent more than anything. So regardless, guys, again, whenever we get into discussion that's outside just baseball, but regarding vaccination or anything that again is more of a not just a national but a global thing, naturally there's going to be discourse that has arguments, disagreements, things of that nature. So please, guys, just hold back from that. Any type of tangent you want to get on, just do it in your head. Don't bother doing the comments below. I'm not going to give you the light of day regardless if I'm for or against what you're saying, so don't even bother just saying that now. It'll do you a favor by not wasting your breath, or typing rather. But getting back to Andrew Benintendi, folks, when I saw this initial report from John Heyman, was I surprised? No, I wasn't, because when looking at Benintendi, I have to be honest with you, I have been aware that there has, at least to a certain degree, the Mets have shown recent knowledge in him. Shout out to a little birdie in the Mets organization. I've been able to find out certain information. One of them that I have been aware of is that Andrew Benintendi's name is something that has been linked to the Mets really for at least a month now. And again, to what degree, we're going to soon find out here, but he isn't someone that's just coming in the news now as a potential fit for the Mets. This has been going on for at minimum a month plus, that the Mets have been weighing their options and addressing the DH and just addressing adding another bat to this lineup. And Benintendi has always been in that mix. And that's why I've talked about him, just not to the degree that I am now here as we see this report. But something big on Andrew Benintendi, guys, when you look at his numbers this year, he is having a phenomenal year in his rental year for the Kansas City Royals, right? This is a guy that just over the past 2 years in the offseason was traded to Kansas City Royals in a 3-team deal. The Mets, of course, were a part of that 3-team deal by acquiring Khalil Lee, top prospect now for the Mets in their top 10, or just out of their top 10, I should say, that they acquired from the Kansas City Royals to help out this Andrew Benintendi deal, going from Boston all the way to Kansas City. And he's having a really respectable season for the Royals here in his free agent year. 28 years of age, his 7th season in the bigs. You see here, 87 games played at the time of recording this, 363 at-bats, 3 home runs, 37 RBIs. Again, not big with the home run power, which will be something that I emphasize a lot here as either a pro or a con for a Mets team that's looking for more home run power. However, a 317 average, a just sub 400 on base, and a 400 slug. We're looking at an Andrew Benintendi right now that's just under an 800 OPS on the season, 127 WRC plus, which is when weighted runs created. This is the best WRC plus he has had in his career, especially. So it's awfully impressive to see what Benintendi has done, not just as a solid outfielder, but as a consistent, reliable bat for a Royals team that, of course, has been plenty anemic at times throughout the year, as a team that isn't going anywhere, not making playoffs, nothing of that nature. But Benny some big pros when you look at Andrew Benintendi, okay? And before you put the home run rate that we'll get into in a minute, this man is one of the most locked in guys at the plate in all of baseball right now. And then when you talk about locked in, he is consistent. There is no drastic splits when he's facing righties or lefties, which is huge because normally when you think of a lefty corner outfielder, naturally you're going to think, oh, maybe he doesn't hit well against lefties. No, he's quite the opposite. Benintendi on the year, folks, against all lefty pitching is still batting a 274 with a just sub 700 OPS versus righties. He's absolutely destroying all righties with a 335 average, over 400 on base, and an over 430 slug for 833 OPS. But against left-handed starters, which has been one of the biggest kryptonites for the Mets this year, Benintendi is still showing up and showing up big with a 305 average, a 371 on base, and a 761 OPS. Against right-handed starters, 322 average, a just sub 400 on base, over 400 slug, and around an 800 OPS. So Benintendi has been consistent regardless on if it's a righty or a lefty on the mound, and that is truly something that could benefit this Mets team huge, in my personal opinion. If you're looking for a guy that needs balance, the Mets have had such drastic splits, even with their biggest sluggers, and Pete Alonso, among others in this lineup, that just don't know how to hit a lefty consistently to save their life. So to bring in someone like Benintendi, you will not be getting that home run power to this juncture, but you will be getting someone that can spread the field and be consistent in his at-bats. And something that I also love about Andrew Benintendi, folks, is as you see here through Baseball Savant, his approach has been simply dominant. We're talking about a guy that's on WardyNYM, Mark Cannon level, if not better, with being locked in at the plate. When you have a 90th percentile in K percentage in baseball, 83rd percentile expected batting average, and 69th percentile nice and walk percentage, whip percentage at 78th percentile, chase rate at 82th percentile, and then the biggest thing is that barrel percentage is at 16. Again, he has really struggled with the home run ball this year. He's struggled with barreling the ball. He's getting more soft contact. That doesn't change the fact that what we're seeing right now from Andrew Benintendi has been a guy that's been able to grind out at bats. We know how important it is for the Mets with Nimmo and Canna towards the top of the order or wherever they have them to be guys that grind out at bats. Jeff McNeil's another great example. These guys, even if they're in 0-2 counts, you know for almost certain every single time they're going to get it back to a full count. Now they're hit it for opposite field or just grind it out for a walk. That is exactly what Andrew Benintendi is, and that is exactly what Billy Epper helped provide with this Mets lineup this year after he built it in the offseason. He looked for not necessarily just home run power, but guys that can grind out at bats, wear down starters, get them out of the game sooner, and have guys that are constantly getting on base. Higher on base means naturally more runs, and that's led the Mets to their success being over 20 games above 500 consistently throughout the year, folks. But you don't just see that from Benintendi. You see a guy that can give you defensive reliability, something that the Mets won't necessarily have should they land a DH bat like a Nelson Cruz or someone along those lines that doesn't play defense. Benintendi is someone that they can slot in left field. You can have Mark Canna at DH, and Buck can get very creative about, based on pitching matchups, who he wants on an everyday basis. Buck has done that this entire season for the Mets, and it would be absolutely no different if he did the same here, where he had himself either Benintendi in left, Canna at DH, or Canna in left, and then you see someone like Benintendi at DH, or you have Benintendi in a different part of the outfield. Say Starling Marte needs a day off because he's dealt with some ailments this year. Regardless, this would give the Mets more defensive flexibility, something that Buck has emphasized, and when looking back to the hitting with consistent at-bats, grinding out at-bats, hitting for opposite field, and just putting the ball in play. That's something that Eric Chavez loves, and he has emphasized a lot in his first year as hitting coach for the Mets. But just as we talked about all the pros in favor of Andrew Benintendi, let's talk about the cons in Benintendi, because there are multiple, and the main one is the Mets want home run balls, right? They want more home run power. They want higher slugging, and I'll give them credit. They have done better with their home run power and slugging here in the month of July than I feel that we saw in June, and even really throughout the first couple months of the year overall. It feels like that they've been a little bit more better with the home run rate, with guys that either are starting to step up, and Eduardo Escobar and others, but still, they would like to add more, and they truly want a home run guy, a guy that can fill in at DH, and while he'll give you less defensive versatility, will give you that more consistent power bat to pair along with Pete Alonso, then Benintendi simply isn't your guy. You know, he had a career year in 2019 with the Juice Balls in Boston, 20 bombs, just around 90 RBIs or so. Benintendi had 17 home runs or so last year. He's not on pace to get 20 this year. Could things drastically change? Should he be dealt with the Mets or somewhere else? Of course. You know, change of sceneries. We've seen it with Yoenis Cespedes and others. They can go on a run, and that can definitely be impactful, but it's not something that you should really bet on with someone like Benintendi, who has consistently struggled with having strength with his swing this year, barreling that bad boy for more than just a single or a double at times. There's a reason why he only has 3 bombs. So if you're talking about home run power, you look at Josh Bell, you look at Nelson Cruz, you look at Trey Mancini, you even look at Wilson Contreras, Brandon Drury, Charlie Blackmon, among others, guys that have proven time and time again to give you more of a home run power. That is not what you're getting with Benintendi. So again, if the Mets are truly focused in on home run more than anything, which they very well could and probably should be, knowing that that's their biggest hole in their lap right now, don't expect Benintendi to come here. However, the other way to look at it is, again, Billy Epler, Eric Chavez, they love the offensive approach of grinding out at bats and defensive versatility. And they look for a guy in that nature, which is what they are doing right now, weighing their options. That's where Benintendi truly slots in as a perfect fit. But more negatives on the Benintendi front. Kansas City Royals, they tend to be stubborn at times. I don't know exactly the price that they're looking for to part with someone like him. Yes, he's a rental, but he's still young and having a great year overall offensively. His best year really since we've seen in 2019 or so. So it'll be interesting to see his value. Shouldn't cost an arm and a leg, but there will be suitors, maybe to a lesser degree now, however, given his VAC stats, like a team, as I mentioned, the Yankees, not having as much interest as they previously did before they found out what his status is. And then a big thing as well, folks, is I know it may not seem like a big factor, but normally there's going to be public perception in New York, no less, when looking at the VAC stats. And regardless on if you agree or disagree, the media, it just feels like that they would tend to have a field day. They're going to emphasize and they're going to try to twist things the best they can to make Benintendi look like a bad player. If I'm being honest, I could definitely see that happening, regardless of the fact that the Mets still have numerous players on their club currently that aren't vaccinated. But no, we'll push that aside. We'll just try to continue this narrative, right? That's the big concern as well. Do the Mets want to stay out of headlines and a potential negative? Again, regardless on where your stance is, that's something that tends to feel inevitable, especially when you're in a big market in NYC and knowing how everything is handled there. So those are definitely options to make you say, okay, Benintendi might not be the best fit, but again, there are plenty of options to make you think that Benintendi very well could be a fit, mainly with him being a big contact guy, being a Mark Canha, Brendan Nimmo, and Jeff McNeil all in one, 2.0, 3.0, or 4.0, whatever you want to say. But Mets fans, that'll do it for this video, so make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about Andrew Benintendi potentially landing with the Mets? Do you think it's a great likelihood? Because for me, I'm really thinking it's a toss-up 50-50 based on what the market's going to be leading up to the deadline. I think he could be a great fit, but I do think the Mets want more of a home run power ball, and that will have Benintendi lower in the totem pole versus Bell and others, as we previously discussed. Whatever your thoughts are, make sure to let me know them all, as always, folks. And again, if you found yourself enjoying this kind of Mets content and you want to see more great Mets content like this, make sure to smash that like and subscribe button, sharing this video with your friends, on the notification bell, all those great things. Thank you guys all so much for the continued support. As always appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for more great content on the channel. I'll talk to you guys again real soon. Let's go Mets, baby.